Let's try again. Hi. Hi, I'm Marta and this is Not Enough Tech. Today we're talking about languages, commute time and, well, in this case WhatsApp Messenger. I spent a fair bit of time in a car. My commute time is 2 hours to work, which is a long time, and I've got a profile that previously handled all incoming messages for me and read them out loud, which is very handy. However, as you probably noticed from my weird accent, English isn't my first language. In fact, I speak a couple of languages, which means I've got friends in the high places. So these friends are very often speak different languages, and it's all good when it's just a text to read. However, when handling TTS use, that often creates problems, especially if a person starts to speak two different languages, whether it's for technical reasons or just copy and pasting bits of internet to me. Now, I've tried to solve this by assigning a native language to a contact name, which worked for a bit. However, the moment a person would speak in two languages, the profile would fail and I would not be able to make out what they're saying on the go. So I've decided to improve on this, and I'm using TASKER, Google Translate API, and in this case WhatsApp, to demonstrate this little showcase for you.
Let's improve WhatsApp. It would be great if I could translate things to Polish. Let's try to say in Polish.
Cześć, jak się masz?
Or in Chinese.
你好，你好吗?
Or translate it back to a language we all know better, English. It is super easy. It takes very little time. But what if you know the languages and you just want to listen to your messages while driving?
Cześć, co u ciebie słychać?
I can change languages in this mode on the fly.
你好，你好吗? To jest takie proste.
And the best thing is, it's all made in TASKER.
To make it all possible, we have to use Google Cloud and Google Translate APIs. Now, first of all, you have full documentation of Google Translate at detecting languages and translating text online, so you can look it up. I'm just going to focus on what's most important. Now, another thing to note is that language support, the code for TTS are much different than the code for the language recognized. So these are the code that's going to be returned by the HTTP functions, and I'm just referencing that so you would know that this is the case and that's something to pay attention to. Lastly, in order to use API at all, you have to get your key, and to get a key you have to log into your Google Cloud platform and then enable APIs. Just look for Translate. That's a cloud translation API, and then you can enable this, and in the Google console you can generate a special key for the access use. So let me just go back, I'll show you where it is. So in your dashboard, go back. In credentials, when you click on it, you'll be able to add a new API key. You're going to need that to authorize your requests. Now let's open up TASKER and let's work with the TASKER itself. So what we've got in here is a couple of profiles in TASKER. I have a separate profile to get the language details. I have a separate profile to translate the text. And I have two profiles, this one to enable different modes and this one to actually invoke whatever I need to do.
So let's start with a very simple WhatsApp mode. WhatsApp mode is when I invoke what kind of message I want, what kind of translation I want to do. So when I click on a shortcut, this is translating into another language, and when I press it on again, I've got now the native language mode supported. Let me go back to the Tasker, and in Tasker you'll see how it works. It's a simple toggle. It's this one. It's a simple toggle. So basically I'm setting a variable app mode from 0 to 1, and depending on the value of this, one of the two if conditions will be invoked in my main task. So if I wanted to have a say natively, I'm gonna have this set of if conditions executed, and if I want to translate it to, for example, English, I'm gonna have this set of conditions executed. Now the profile starts when I get a notification from WhatsApp, and that notification has a reply action. So those all notifications with reply actions from WhatsApp will be checked, and the AN text variable from auto notification will contain whatever the person told me. Now what's going to happen then is in say natively action, what I'm going to do, I'm going to perform a task to to establish what language has been used. So that's a WhatsApp get language. In the other mode, translate to English, I have performed task WhatsApp translate. And basically in this case, in the first case, it will return a variable. The variable is going to be stored as say it, and it's either going to be EN for English, PL for Polish, ZH-CN in uppercase for Chinese. So if I want to pick which TTS to look for, it's going to check this task, figure out what language is it, and then go back to the main task and say it in a correct language for the TTS. Now when it comes to translate, it works in a very similar way. When it comes to translate, it works in a very similar way. It's gonna check for translation, get the translation back, and then say it in your preferred translation option. For example, by default, I've just said to say it with the TTS in English, but you can change the TTS to any other language as shown below. Now let's dive into the first task, which is getting the language. So what I do in here is, I don't need this actually, let me just remove that. It's a very simple profile. Basically I'm sending HTTP post to the URL specified in our documentation, which is for the language detecting languages. This is the URL in here, and I authorize this with my key. I store the key in a variable in this case, and then I send the data which is stored in queue for query, which is parameter 1, and that's going to contain the text I want to sample. That's going to be returned and stored in the text file, which is language.txt. Now this text file is going to look like this. Let me just open the language.txt, and that's going to be a JSON file, and I'm only interested in a language bit in here. So once I've got the JSON folder, JSON file, all I want to do is just to get that JSON and look for the field which is language, and that's going to store it in the language variable, which is then returned to the main task via return action. And that's it. That way I'll know this language, which language has been used in this case. So that's how it works. Now when it comes to translating it, it's slightly more complicated, but nothing really out of ordinary. So I have, in this case, I have three different HTTP post requests. However, I'm using only one depending on what language I want to translate it to. Now if I want to translate it to English, I'm using a different HTTP request, which is here. This is the URL. You have to authorize it at the end with your API key, and then you have to pass two parameters. I'm translating it to English, so I'm using the code for the translations, which is language support, and that's the ISO code from here. And then parameter 1, it stores the query. It has your sample text and that's gonna be saved in a translated TXT. Now, that translated TXT, as previously, is gonna be read by JSON action, and I just want to extract translated text field from this one and pass it over as a translated text to the main task. So I'll show you quickly the translated TXT file. So the translated TXT file will have translated text, hello in this case, and it detected this source language as a Polish in my last translation. So if you want to use it for something, you can go ahead and make a table that will automatically pick TTS as well. So that's pretty much everything that needed to be done for this TASKER task. And when I receive any messages, I can use one of the modes in here to actually receive it. So I can either translate it to English by default or another language should you choose to, or just say it natively with the correct TTS enabled.
Thanks for watching, my multilingual friends. As usual, you know where to find me, you know my social media, you know my YouTube account, etc. If you happen to be a first-time viewer, consider subscribing. I've got a lot of different content in there. If you want any details about how this is made or ready-made files to download, head back to NotEnoughTECH. There's a link in the description of this article, and you'll find more information about how this has been built. So, I'm gonna say bye for now, and I'm gonna see you next time. Take care. Bye.